Welcome to my studio again. Tonight I'm going to show you how to paint a sky using oil paints. The first thing I want to show you guys is that I only paint the portion of the sky that I'm going to use, and that's 1/3 of the canvas. And I use this product for my base coat. It's Liquid First Coat by Weber. It's an oil paint for base coating your canvas, and it makes your paint slide a little easier. The paints that we're going to be using tonight's Persian blue, black, ice blue, Payne's gray, and white. I don't know what the sky's going to look like because I never know when I'm painting, because I just paint from my head and my heart. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is take the brush and wiggle it into your paint. We're going to go into the Persian blue first. We're going to start up here in this corner. And what I do is I just scrub my colors in. I don't try to do no crisscrossing or any of that. I just scrub them in. If I need it to be a little darker, I just add more paint. But that's the first thing you want to do, is learn how to scrub in your sky. And leave some little openings for clouds if you're going to do clouds. We may end up doing a storm. I never know what I'm going to paint until I get started. And I hope that my technique will help you to paint and make beautiful landscapes. I do a series of landscapes. It's called the wet on wet version. And I take you through it step by step. The first one that we do is session 1 is you're going to be doing a sky like we're going to be doing tonight. Okay, just go down here and fill all this in a little bit. Lightly dust your brush, dust your canvas. Very lightly, no pressure. And leave it just like that. Now, let's go in and add a little bit of Payne's gray. Payne's gray we may end up making it look like it's fixing to rain. You never know what we're going to do till we get through painting it. But tonight I'm just going to show you how I set my sky up and how I do my clouds. I put a little in, then I dust it down. See, if that's what I'm wanting, good. If it's not, then I'll go back and change it again. So add a little more Payne's gray. Let's come in here and put some of this color in. Lightly back and forth. Very soft now, don't lose your color. Now let's add a little more of the Persian blue up in here. See how I'm wiggling that brush? I just wiggle until I get my colors just like I want them. And there's no rhyme or reason of why I do this. It's just I like the effect that I get when I'm putting in the sky. I hope you can see that and I'm not in your way. Okay, let's get a little more of the Persian blue over here. I just put it in and just randomly. A little Payne's gray. Let's make this a little bit heavier right through here. I believe it'll be a prettier sky. Softly blend it back and forth. I do a lot of demos for different organizations, and they always like my skies. So if you have any questions after you see this video, just message me and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. My classes are held at the Hobby Lobby in Newnan. I don't have a set date that I do landscapes. I do the landscapes when my students want to paint them. Okay, I'm wiggling in some more dark color, and I'm doing this with Payne's Gray. And I'm just wiggling in and letting the paint fall off the top of the brush. Wiggle it back and forth. What you think about that? Isn't that a pretty sky? Now, I don't even wipe my brush a lot. I'm just going to lightly dust it down some. Let's take a little more Payne's Gray and bring that cloud on down. Dust it back and forth. Let's get a little Persian blue. Come right up underneath it. Okay, and then lightly dust it back and forth. Sometimes I may have to get a towel, paper towel, and wipe some of the blue off, and then lightly go back and forth. Painting is easy, guys. It's real easy. Everybody can do it. It's just, you got to have the imagination and you got to have the want to. If you got those two things, you'll be able to paint. But if you want to paint just for painting, you got to have the desire to paint. I paint every day. And I love it. I enjoy it. Now we're going to take our brush and we're going to wipe it out with the paper towel. And then we're going into a little bit of ice blue. And let's come right underneath these clouds and lay in a little bit of light color. Can you see that coming in? Everybody says, do you use white? Yes, I do. I use white, but I use that last. Right now, I'm just laying in color and laying in the sky the way I think that I might want to do it. I may change my mind and come back and put in some big fluffy clouds. You never know. Each time you don't see my brush, I'm wiping it out. I like to paint the sky at nighttime. I think that's pretty. Softly blend down. Softly, softly blend it out. I think that's going to be a real pretty sky. Okay, now let's go back to the Persian blue. I want to make this corner just a little bit darker. And see that little white area? I want to kind of leave that. And remember, with the first coat that you have on, it's a white base. So everything you put on top of it is going to end up being a little bit lighter. Okay, now let's go back over here and make this just a little bit darker. But I'm going to use Payne's Gray plus Persian blue in this area. I'm just wiggling my brush. That looks pretty good. Okay, and wipe out my brush. And I'm going to reload with Persian blue and Payne's Gray. And let's come in here and make this just a little bit darker right in here. Blend it out. Wipe your brush. Softly blend. Stroking it very softly. That's beginning to look pretty good. Now let's see if I can find me a fan brush. Okay, the fan brush. Now, what we're going to do with the fan brush is we're going to, let me get a paper towel. We're going to load our fan brush with white paint. Now let me show you how I load this brush. I pull this paint out. Pull, pull, pull on both sides. Okay? Lots of paint. Now let's come up in here and let's lay in a little bitty cloud. Now don't try to make it look perfect. Now let's come down here. Looking pretty good. Now your brush will pick up a lot of the blues. Don't worry about it. You don't want it to be stark white anyway right now. We're just still laying in color. Okay, let's go back to our big brush and let's softly soften that down and go in one direction. Don't go back and forth. I usually go from the right to the left. Very softly. Don't want to lose your color. And I think that looks really good. I like it. I don't know about you, but it's my painting. Okay, now we're going to take the fan brush, wipe this fan brush out, and let's go into a little bit of the Payne's Gray. Come up here. And just play and dance. Just play and dance with the paint and paint with your brush. That's all you're really doing. You're just putting in some shade, some shadow. I teach a lot of toe painting. I have some wonderful little students that paint, and they do landscapes too. It's a lot of fun to be versatile in your types of painting. And I also teach in acrylic. My preference is oil, but I do teach acrylics. Now see how that's just darkened up a little bit? Now we're going to take our brush and we're going to hold the brush this way, long ways, horizontal. Barely pull. Barely pull. Now, I think that's looking really good. Okay, let's put a few over here. So we'll load the brush the same way. Pull, pull, pull. Load it really good. Let's come in here and let's lay in some color. Now remember guys, this is just one way of doing clouds and sky. These are those, I call them load clouds. I don't know, they're stringy. They're stringy clouds. They're pretty clouds, but you know, on some days you don't have clouds. Okay, take your brush and softly blend to the right, from the right to the left. Okay. And always get back away from your painting to see what you've come up with, and if you like it, you know, And I think what I'd like to do is I'm going to make it a little lighter down here. But this is a little trick. Take some of your thin white and your first coat and mix it with your titanium white to soften it and make it a little bit easier to smooth. Now let's come in here. And I want to lighten this area up a little bit. Notice I have not cleaned my brush with Turp. Turp is the odorless brush cleaner. And sometimes we thin our paints with it. And sometimes I like to use the first coat to thin down my paint. Okay. Okay, we're going to bring this flat on down just a little bit more. Now, when I'm teaching this in class, we'll take our time because I really want the students to understand what we're doing and how we're doing it, how to hold the brush, how to load the brush, and how to mix and get the paints to the right consistency. And you can't do that on TV. When you're doing a video, you don't have the time, or you have the time, but I just don't want to take the time. I'd like for you to come to class. Okay, I think that's it for the clouds. The next step was going to be later on. I'll come back in here and we'll do some mountains, or I may change it. I just may change it. I think I'm going to change it right now. Alright, this is my special round brush. Alright, I'm going to load my paint. Pull, 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 and then push in. Okay? Now, watch really close. This is going to be a fluffy cloud. I'm going to touch and press on the bottom. Touch. Soften on the bottom. A lot of times I turn my brush over and I'll tap, tap, tap. Don't touch the top, leave the top alone. Okay, now let's go over to this side and put some clouds in over here. Okay. Wiping my brush. Coming underneath the cloud, I'm going to tap, tap. Soften all this down through here. Don't go up to the edge. Leave the edge alone. Paper towel, I'm wiping out my brush. Okay, coming over here, we're going to just lightly, very lightly pull, just knocking the tops off the clouds, very lightly. And we'll do the same thing over here, very lightly. Okay, now we'll go back to the round brush Okay, now we're going to do our second row. Okay, take your 1-inch brush, tap underneath it. You don't have to do no little circle motion. You can just tap underneath it and just lightly soften it. Okay, wipe your brush, lay it down. Now we're going to reload with the white. I hope y'all can see that. Now we're going to come over here and we're going to make one more row. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Pull, 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 and push in. Okay, now let's wipe out that brush, the round brush. Remember, we've already tapped underneath those, so we don't have to worry with them, but we got to come in here and tap underneath these. Let's just tap, tap, tap. All right, all you're doing is softening the bottom of your cloud, but don't touch the top of your cloud. Okay, now this time we're going to, instead of going that way, we're going to go the right way. Knock off the tops. Very lightly. Don't lose your cloud. A lot of people just take it and wipe it right off, and you don't need to do that. You need to leave it where you can see it. Now that's looking pretty good. All right, let's go. And I want to leave these clouds in here like they are. I like those. So let's pull our paint, push in our brush, and let's make another cloud right here. I promise you guys, this painting is easy. I have a 7-year-old that I teach, and Chloe does a beautiful job. Okay, tap underneath, tap, tap, tap. I teach a lot of children that love to paint landscapes. Of course, we paint other stuff too, but landscapes is our main thing. Okay, lightly brush, lightly. If you can do this with the hairs on your arm, paint your hairs and not your arm, you got it licked. That's a little exercise that some of my students use. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. I want to put a few more right through here, but first, before I do that, I got to put in some dark. So let's go into the Persian blue. And come here, we're just going to make a few, not a whole lot. Got to put that shadow color in first. Okay, now wipe your brush out real good. Don't clean it and turp. You don't want a wet brush. Wipe that out. Load in your white paint. Get a little bit of your thin mixture. Your first coat, and come up here and tap, tap, tap. All I'm doing is tapping right underneath the blue. Okay, now wipe your brush really good. And with no paint, come up here and get a little paint from there and go to the top of your shadow color and soften it just by touching it. Soften it, soften, soften. Soften it. Okay. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? Okay, now we'll take our 1-inch brush that's wiped out, and we're going to come back in here and we're going to tap, tap, tap. Okay. We'll soften. Very softly, very, very softly. Okay, now we're going to take our round brush again, and we're going to load with thick white. Pull the paint out and push in. Now we're going to come right underneath, and we're going to put some white clouds in. Okay, now let's tap underneath. Tap, tap, tap. You get a hair, just flick it off. Tap, tap, tap. And then lightly, very lightly, knock the top off. Very, very lightly. Okay. I'm gonna see if we can bring some of those clouds down from here. Pressure. Okay. Now let's pat this down. Okay, now let's softly, very softly, pull that top, knock those little hickeys off. I don't know what you call them, those little tip marks that you make when you're doing your brush stroke. Okay, I think that's it for tonight. I greatly appreciate you watching. I hope that helped you to learn how to do some of your clouds. You've got the streaky clouds, and you got your fluffy clouds. And if you wanted to make this darker, you can make those down there underneath a little bit darker. And you can put a moon in there. We might do that next week. But this is just one of the techniques that I teach at Hobby Lobby, and I hope that one day that you'll come in and visit with me and let me show you some things to paint. And if you have any projects that you'd like to finish and work on, all you got to do is just call me and let me know. I'll put my number and my messenger on my Facebook page. This will be on my Facebook page. Thank you. I appreciate you watching.